Right, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the concept of distress, I'm going to have a short video to just explain what distress is and the reasoning behind it and how we look at it. So the question that we have to understand is, what is venture distress? Once it's understood, it's much easier to address. And I'm not going to try and give you a definition of distress. I'm going to explain to you how a business in distress looks. I think that will suffice for us so that we can start to address the distress because we understand it. So distress tells us about the state of affairs or the context in which a venture is facing. Normally it is associated with performance that is reversed, it's challenged, or it's threatened, and it cannot be the business itself, the venture, cannot be a going concern anymore. So going concern is important, and I will address that more in a later video. So as a result of this distress situation, the business faces resource-related problems. That leaves a potential opportunity if it can be fixed, and we will address it in the second part of the video, the opportunity. But the distress is a situation in which a business is at a point in time, and it is caused by something. So causality is also important. If you look at the dictionary, it says that the definition is associated with hard-pressed, hard-put, upset. It's in a bad way. So the business is normally struggling when it is in distress. So therefore, we have to look at it from that perspective. So looking at the specific distress, we know that distress is normally caused by something. Imagine falling in a hole. So something makes you to fall into the hole. That's what drove the venture into a hole. That is what we call the cause. And this causality thing is very important, very difficult, and suffers greatly from causal ambiguity, that we have to make sure that we understand what the cause is. So normally the cause happens from some or other direction. We have normally the two directions. One, it is a strategic direction, and the second one is operational direction. And that's the nature of the beast, which is that type of hole that you are falling into. And then, of course, how deep is the hole is important. We have to understand the severity. Sometimes you have slight distress. We can have severe distress. We see now, after the coronavirus, that businesses are in severe distress and probably will never survive that distress. Then we must also understand that depending on the origin and the severity, there's a little bit of resources that's available to the business to apply in this distress. So we ask the question of how can we fill the hole and with what? That then creates a potential opportunity to exit that hole, or maybe not, but at least some people will see a possible way to exit that hole. And then for that, we will require a specific strategy. So those are the characteristics of a typical distress situation that a business may face. When we look at the distressed venture, and to determine whether it's an opportunity, we must then also understand what is an opportunity. An opportunity is an opinion formed by some or other observer that recognizes a project that seems worth pursuing. So in the end, an opportunity says there's benefit more than there is cost, which I will explain to you in the next slide. So if we look at the distressed venture opportunity, we must say this business is in distress. If we do the following, there might be an opportunity. If we do something else, there might not be an opportunity. So what is the difference between the two? So we have to look at the benefit that is expected from pursuing a distressed opportunity. We say if there is a benefit, then the benefit is more than what the costs of achieving or filling that hole is. Cost of the resource inputs associated with a benefit that is pursued. If we see that as positive, then there's an opportunity. But when we see that the costs are more than what the benefit is, then we know that it is not an opportunity, and we must then consider some other methodology or process, like a brill or a liquidation, to be pursued. Listening to the news this morning, I see that is exactly where we find SAA this morning. Right, so we have to have the concept of distress in our mind, and then we have to make a judgment on whether the distressed venture gives us an opportunity to pursue turnaround or restructuring, or otherwise, if it is not an opportunity, we have to go into liquidation or pursue a better return than in what liquidation could offer us. In our next video, I'm going to now expand on this venture opportunity and the whole process associated with it.